The sales process ties in with your accounting and your CRM, and you can use both of those systems to really power that sales process. Welcome to the business behind your business, conversations to help your business grow and thrive. Hi, I'm Paul Sweeney, founder of Pretium Solutions, chartered accountants and certified business advisors, hosting the business behind your business.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Business Behind Your Business podcast. My name's Paul Cripps, and I'm the guest host today. And today I'll be having a conversation with the founder of Pretium Solutions, Paul Sweeney. And our topic today is about the 3 essential tools every business needs. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm great, Paul. Yeah, thanks for jumping in the host chair today. It's always good to switch the roles. And yeah, let's have a great conversation, I think, because these are 3 things that I've discovered, particularly recently, where we're recording this in Sydney in lockdown, and people are applying for grants or trying to apply for grants. And one of the first of those 3 things we're seeing is that they don't have the information available because they don't have an accounting system. So, yeah, the accounting system is the first thing I want to mention. But we also got to talk about a strategy for moving beyond lockdown and growing your business, or continuing to grow your business while you're in lockdown. But I guess really, it's more than just a lockdown strategy, and that's about how you communicate with your customers or potential customers. So what's your system there? And then the third one I want to talk about, which I think is essential, is a sales process for every business. So those 3 things I think are absolutely critical. If you have no other systems in your business, those 3 are the ones you have to have. And I see a lot of businesses that maybe they have a sales process, but they don't have accounting and they don't have a customer relationships process. So, yeah.
No, that's great, Paul. And look, thank you for inviting me back to be guest host again. I couldn't have done too bad a job last time, hopefully I don't mess it up this time. But so it's a very interesting seat to be sitting in. And I think, as you've already said, Paul, we're currently both in Sydney in lockdown. We know currently people in Victoria are in lockdown as well. But as we were discussing before we went on air as well, these sort of tools actually just as relevant outside of lockdown and outside of a COVID scenario as well. They're important things to have in place at any time. But now might be a good time, I guess, for some business owners perhaps don't have as much day-to-day business going on. They might have got more time to actually think about putting some of these things in place. So I think time of this is very good. So, Paul, should we get stuck into item number 1 and the accounting software? And perhaps we can start, Paul, by just explaining in terms of, at a high level, why it's important to have something in place.
Yeah, look, one of the biggest frustrations we're seeing a lot of people have is that they can't get access to their information quickly to supply it to the government bodies that they need to submit grant applications, or to prove that they've been in business, to prove their turnover levels. And really that comes down to, as a business owner, you need to know exactly where your business is. Is it trading profitably? Is the cash flow adequate? What are your future sales like? How well did you go? Is the business performing as well as you expected it to, or does it need a boost? Or is there some warning signs in your figures? But a lot of business owners don't know that. And I'm hearing conversations, or having conversations with business owners at the moment, that don't have those systems in place. They're relying on Excel or just paper-based invoicing systems still. Look, we have a lot of technology available, but I think any system that you can't get the answer to quickly, you can't run a report and say in an instant what your profit is, or what your cash position is. If you don't have that, you're not in a position to really know where your business is at. And I think now more than ever, you've got to keep your finger on the pulse. You've got to know how you're going. Yeah, when I started accounting, which was 25 years ago, we were still doing financial statements for people 11 to 12 months after the end of the year, because nobody had accounting systems. They all just had bank statements and cash books and invoice books, and it was a very slow process. So we didn't get to tell somebody until many months down the track how well or how badly they did and what they need to change in their business. Now, that's all changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the efficiency in technology is certainly it's certainly helpful, and I guess probably like anything, the information is at our fingertips, a lot quicker. And I'm actually, as you were talking there, Paul, it just reminded me that I was very pleased that I think I'd only been in my business, started my business about 3 months before I decided I think I need to have one of these in place, and because I soon thought, how am I going to cope without this? And I think it might be one of my first BAS off of a spreadsheet, and I thought, no, never again. Let's something proper in place, and it's something I don't ever regret in terms of decisions made, in terms of where to go. Do you think, first of all, there is for businesses that I think probably there are two things here. Maybe there are businesses that don't have accounting software in place, and perhaps do you think sometimes people are just find it difficult to know which direction to go? Because presumably, like any system, there are obviously several on the market, and it's probably hard to say that there is a market leader that will suit every business. Presumably, it's horses for courses, and there are some accounting software solutions that suit some businesses better than others, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the initial accounting packages that were designed for small business were really written from the accountant's point of view. So they were technically sound, did everything compliant, but you needed to know where to put things correctly. So you still needed a high degree of training. And one of the biggest problems we found as accountants is that the person that got delegated that task in a business had no training, didn't want to be doing the job, didn't understand, and really didn't care whether they'd done it correctly or not. So we found a lot of mistakes. So people were getting misinformation. And part of it came down to those original systems, and the technology that was available didn't allow some of the controls to be in there to prevent people from making the mistakes. So if we fast forward to now, and like Xero has just celebrated their 15th year in operation, and they've certainly changed the marketplace. But they've created a system with the end user in mind. So they've designed their system for the business owner, not for the accountant.
Sure.
But underlying that is all the accounting principles. So double entry bookkeeping, everything being in balance, bank data coming in, ledger, the debtors ledgers and creditor ledgers, which underlie and accountants love and need to be balanced. But from an end user, you don't need to worry about that. But they've put in place controls to stop you from making some of those critical mistakes that corrupted data and made it unusable in the past. So that's a good way to look at it. So what you want your accounting system to do is be easy to use, accurate, timely, so it doesn't take you a lot of time to do, and able to extract the data quickly. And look, I know Xero has it, QuickBooks has it, and the other accounting systems also have taken this up, is having automated data feeds from your banks. So your bank statement information goes directly in, which means you don't have to enter it in manually, which means there's less likelihood of a mistake. There's less likelihood you're going to miss including information. And it's all there. So you can also automate the process of how you transact that, because you can set up rules so that the same transactions get treated the same way. And it's really, instead of having to manually key in a lot of information, if the rule is there and the transaction matches the rule, you just hit OK, and the process of reconciling that transaction is done. So it's easy to do, easy to get the data in, and then the range of reporting options available make getting the data out easy. So you can do your activity statements with the click of a button. Coming up with the COVID reports for grant applications, a lot of the software providers have built in reports instantly. You don't have to wait 6 months for a software update anymore. It's there as soon as they press go on the cloud-based technology. So you could get your reports to substantiate your turnover decline figures for COVID instantly. There's a lot of advantages there. So accuracy, efficiency, completeness, and reporting, knowing exactly where you are. Now, obviously, there is a cost of having those software systems in place, and most of them have a tiered level of subscription so that you can match it to the size of your business and the features that you need. But one of the biggest objections we get from new business owners is the cost, and that the cost might be, say, $60 for a standard business per month, but they won't want to pay that $60. They'll instead prefer using their Excel spreadsheets where they've manually got to enter in data and come up with formulas and cross-check, and spreadsheets are riddled with errors and mistakes, or they just add things up off their bank statement. Now, the amount of time that takes
Yes,
is
exactly
longer.
right. Yeah, no, precisely.
And you can't get your information quickly. And look, people, if you're applying for finance for asset purchases or business loans, you need to have the financial information. And if it's coming from an accounting system that's reconciled accurately, that the accountant is using as well, it's faster to provide those reports. It's more accurate. It's more reliable than having to keep going backwards and forwards and recalculate supply information. So there's a lot of time saving. But, look, we use data in everything we do. People have fitness trackers telling them what their heart rate is, how many stairs they've climbed.
Exhibit A on my wrist.
Yeah, so we have a lot of data there. We have data about, how much Netflix you've watched or how many TV shows you've got in your watch list, and how many calories you've consumed. But for a business owner, the key accounting data tells you how healthy your business is, and so it's crucial to have that in place.
I do find it slightly astounding that there would be objections based on what really is, I see it as a really essential tool. And as you quite rightly say, Paul, as well, in terms of if a business owner actually thinks about the time that they would take to do something manually, there's got to be a lot of lost opportunity costs there, I would have thought. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I just go back to, and the great thing for me to hear there, Paul, is this, as you say, it's certainly a lot of the systems are designed with the end user, but the great thing is that they're very, we don't want to use this expression, very accountant friendly as well, in terms of they've got all the things that an accountant needs as well. And my experience from the one I use, and I probably shouldn't say which one it is, it's very user friendly. And the one thing I would say that from my experience that when I first started using this tool is I did get a little bit of help at the start. I just had a small amount of time with somebody to make sure that it was set up properly in the first place. Because if I'd have just bought it off the shelf, I wouldn't have had a clue where to start. So getting the right help to start me off in the first place was helpful. And look, my business is relatively simple from a transactional perspective. But having said that, it's still something that I find is on the ongoing basis is very easy to manage. So I just couldn't imagine not having something in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, even though the accounting systems are very user-friendly and there's a lot of help and training available, it does help to get somebody that is actually experienced in that, whether it's an accountant or a bookkeeper or a zero trainer, just to make sure that you're doing things correctly and to review what you've done and say, yes, you're doing it that way, or hey, there's a better way that you can do this and get to the same result either faster or more accurately, and setting up some of those processes. So, look, we've got the experience. We're aware of what the shortcuts are, how to save time. So we want to pass on that knowledge. So, spend that little bit of extra time and money at the beginning of your process, and you'll save yourself a lot of time, a lot of expense later on, having to go back and fix things. And look, you mentioned the opportunity costs. Like if we look at, say, the software subscription, $60 a month, what's the value of one sale? How much time are you spending doing your accounting that you could save and spend into your sales process, which is going to generate revenue for your business? And I think at the moment, generating sales is one of those. So generating sales is always critical. How do I get more sales? And I think that leads into the second tool I want to talk about, which is a CRM system. Now, CRM is, accountants and finance people love to throw around acronyms, but let's say,
I'll help you undo those, Paul. It's fine.
So CRM, customer relationship management. So it's a tool to manage your customers. And we're not just talking about existing customers, but we're talking also about prior customers and future customers.
Yep.
And there's a whole host of those systems around. And what they're designed to do is to help you manage the relationship with your customers and the interactions you're having with them. And that might be, how do you handle an inquiry from somebody? Is there a process to onboard a prospect that first initial conversation to when you have that first meeting to when you actually give them a proposal to when they onboard as a client or a customer? What's your process there? Or how do you communicate with people to let them know, hey, I've got a new product available. Hey, I'm having a sale. Or did you know that, it's coming up to spring and now's the time that you need to start thinking about this, and here's the product we're going to sell. So your CRM system does that. Now, as I said, we've got a lot of data available to us. So Our accounting systems have a very basic CRM system in there. In fact, you've got really a list of customers and contact details. And nowadays we've got email addresses. Now, I won't talk too much about the privacy issues and the subscription, because I think that's probably a topic in itself about what you are allowed to send out to people and what privacy rules are. But if you got permission to send information to people as a customer, or they've made an inquiry and they've consented to being sent information and your updates and newsletters, then your CRM system is how to do it. Now, if you've got prior customers or existing customers, they are your most obvious candidates for who's going to buy from you again.
Yep.
Who's going to be, where are your next sales coming from? More and more businesses, it's likely that they're going to be from your existing customers or your previous customers. And I think last time we spoke, Paul, I was talking about a service-based industry where they did installation work and servicing, but they never contacted their prior customers to say, hey, your equipment's due to be serviced. When can we book you in? Now, they already had all those customer details because they recorded in their accounting system. What they needed to do was communicate to them and say, hey, your equipment is due for service. When can we book you in? And that's a simple way of using your customer relationship management system to do that. So there are different ways you can communicate with customers. But I think at the moment, one of the things we're saying, particularly during this difficult stage of lockdowns and restricted trading, is keep communicating with your customers. Let them know, or even if it's a case of, hey, you can't physically come into our shop, but here's other ways you can purchase from us at the moment.
Yes.
This is what we're doing. Okay, this is how our click and collect works. So the idea is to let customers know how they can buy from you and what they can buy from you, and make it as easy as possible for them to know that. So using that database, that information to communicate to customers regularly and keep them informed. Yeah, we've talked about people that have, they've set up booking systems for, when we reopen and can physically do the work, we're going to have a list. So make sure, or we're going to have a lot of demand. So make sure you're first in queue. Book your place now. Here's a way of doing it. And look, the CRM systems have had a bit of a bad rap because of the cost of some of the early stage ones that were targeted to small and medium businesses. But with the advancements in technology, a lot more of them have evolved and have more affordable plans. Some often have free plans, so to get started on it, up to a certain number of, records or customers that you're managing.
Yep.
So we've looked at a few of those. We've got clients using different things. So in our accounting business, we're using a tool called Active Campaign, which also allows us to automate a lot of our interaction with prospects and customers. So if somebody, let's say, communicates with us via our website, then they might be doing that at 11 o'clock at night. Now, I'm not sitting at the end of my computer at 11 o'clock at night waiting for a customer so I can respond to them. But that will set in place an automated sequence of communications to say, hey, we've got your email. This is the next step. Somebody will ring you, or here's the next step. If you want to book a meeting, this is how you do it. Tell us a bit more about you so we can answer your question. But there's that automated stream of communication started. And because people's emails, they don't see every email, there's that follow-up sequence. Hey, we noticed you didn't see this email. Here's the next step. Or, hey, we noticed you haven't read this yet. Is there something else we can help you with? But that process can be automated so that you're not actually physically doing the work, but your business is working for you at the same time. So Active Campaign is one that does a lot of that automation, and that's quite effective. And look, we've just set up for the podcast, we've set up a CRM system, which also helps us with some of the downloads that we mentioned during the podcast. And we're using a tool called ConvertKit, which is quite user-friendly, very easy to set up. And we're using that. And that also allows us to set up some very simple landing pages, which is a simple way of having, exposure and being found without having to go to that full web page experience. So that's been really helpful for us there. But there are certainly a lot of other ones out there. Your HubSpots, your Salesforce is probably the more well-known one, but probably outside the scope of most small, medium businesses in terms of cost and probably way too much functionality and a bit harder to get set up. But some of them are targeted very much for small business. But communicating with customers is the key, not just your existing customers, but your past, and also how you communicate with your prospective customers at the same time.
Yeah, look, it's certainly, I think that, and obviously much would depend on the size of the business, but it sounds like every business would get value from having a CRM system in place of some description, regardless of what size. Because, as you say, Paul, if there are some options out there up to a certain level where there's something available for free, then why wouldn't a business owner look to utilize that? And do you think there is a process, once again, that a business owner would go through to work out, okay, so what system should I choose? And I guess it depends on probably size and type of business.
There's a lot of information around on that and a lot of tools. And look, it doesn't take long to do a simple search and come up with a number of articles from reputable sources about it.
Sure.
And look, a lot of the CRM systems will actually have conversion of like a comparison of features with their competitors, and that's often a handy place. But in preparing for our conversation, I just did a quick search and very quickly came up with a number of pretty reputable comparisons from places like Entrepreneur Magazine and Forbes and Pat Flynn and small business. There's plenty of different comparisons out there. So there are a lot of ways of quickly finding out what features are there. But I think the key is that I've found is not just look at what you're using now, but as your business expands, what are the features that you're going to want to take up?
Yeah, that's
and is that CRM going to have that in place? And look, one last thing I want to say on this is that's your email list, effectively. Another way people think about it is your email list. A lot of people have built their business or their community around a particular social media platform. So a lot of people have built on Facebook groups or LinkedIn or Instagram. The thing there is that you don't know necessarily about the engagement of your customers or what they're seeing from you. And if something goes wrong with that platform, you've lost all your interactions with that.
Yes. Yeah.
That group of customers or supporters. Whereas if you've got your email list, you can transfer that email list and you can control what goes out to them, who sees it. You can track how many people open your emails, who's responding, what they're looking at in those emails. What if you've got links in there, what they've clicked on, what's been clicked on, what people are interested in. So you have a lot more control over the information that people are seeing, and also you can see what to do with it. You've got the data there to help you make better decisions.
And that's a key, Paul, isn't it? In terms of and a bit of a link really to the first topic as well, is having the data available to make future decisions for the business is a real key takeaway from that. So, Paul, should we now go into the third item, tool, which is around the topic of sales and marketing?
Well, absolutely. And I think we were talking about this earlier before we started recording, was this whole idea of having a sales process and making it as easy as possible for your customers to do business with you. And look, the sales process ties in with your accounting and your CRM, and you can use both of those systems to really power that sales process. Because if you look at sales, you have an initial contact with a prospect where they may consider buying. So they need to know what you're selling, how it works, what the benefits are to them, what the costs are. So what's the process of engaging with them and telling that? And then how do they actually make a purchase? So if you're doing online retail, then there's a lot of online shopping tools. So Shopify and Instacart, and there's so many of them now. Like there used to only be one or two, but there's so many online shopping tools that plug into your website. It also interact with your accounting system and your CRM. So once somebody makes a sale, they entered into your CRM system and your accounting system. So, but having a sales process where the customer can make a sale, you want to make it as easy as possible for somebody to purchase from you. And I think that's where a lot of businesses, they'll spend a lot of time on marketing and getting people to hear about their product, but they don't make the sales process easy.
And I've been on the experience, whether it's me directly or whether I've got a client that's looking to buy, and it always becomes hard to buy from them. And and I've actually got a bit of a real life example of that going on live at the moment, where I think I've got a client that's very interested in potentially talking to this person, potentially buying from them. Yet there is some key bits of information that have not been easy to get from this company. So, and that could presumably presumably a lot of people might just end up turning away and losing interest as a result.
Yeah. And I think, look, the harder you make it for people to buy, they will look at, well, if a competitor may not have as good a product or maybe not as good a service, but if they're easier to deal with, then a lot of people like that easy transaction, and they'll purchase from your competitor. So you've got to make that process easy to do. You've got to make it easy for somebody to make a sale. So it's not just enough to get them to your website. It's, a lot of people spend money on marketing and SEO to get somebody to their website, but you're not actually making it easy for your customers to purchase from you. And that's a key thing. And look, in terms of a physical product, you've got comparison sites, and you're able to put in things like, I guess, abandoned cart responses as well as part of your shopping tool or your sales process, where if somebody has started an order, you can actually send them a follow-up. Hey, we noticed that you didn't finish. Is there something else we can help you with? Or was there something that you couldn't find, and help with that process? But you've got to make it easy for people to buy from you. There's a lot of competition out there in certain industries, and once you've got their attention, you need to make it easy for them to purchase.
Absolutely right, and I think it's my experience is that when it's easy to purchase and that information is just available and it's very easy to get hold of, whether it's navigated through a web or it is a case of interaction, it's quickly and available. It just speeds things up, and it stops potential for time wasting on all parties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, we need to get back to the situation where, look, no matter where our business is and what our external circumstances are, or whether we can control them or not, we need to make sales to grow our business and to stay in business. So we need to have a way of communicating with customers or prospective customers, and a way for them to make a purchase from us, whether that be a physical product or a service, or even an online delivery, to say online courses and things like that, which seems to be more and more common these days, or more accepted. But we've got to make that process easy. And then all of that data will tie into your accounting system. So again, at the end of the day, you don't want to be spending your time processing accounting transactions. Let the software do the work for you.
That's right, and really concentrate your time on the pointy end of getting those sales to happen, because that's driving the business. And as we said earlier on as well, it doesn't really matter whether that's now in a lockdown situation we're going to listen to this, or if you're not locked down and you're able to transact freely. It's still king, isn't it? Regardless of the situation, and always will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's really good to cover off those three excellent tips there. So obviously we've talked a little about the importance of having an accounting software platform, also having a customer relationship management software in place, and the real key in terms of sales. So any closing thoughts from yourself, Paul?
Well, I think the key is that start simple. A lot of people try and think, well, hang on, I don't have the time to invest in all of it, but start with small steps, start with a process. So set up the basic accounting, set up a basic CRM system and send out an email to a customer. And look, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Just get something there to people to say, hey, we're still here, we're still trading. This is how you can deal with us, communicate with them. And then look at your sales process. If you can use a tool to automate some of that process and make it easier for people to transact, that's even better. The less that you're doing, we're talking, we hear a lot of this stuff about 4-hour work weeks and increased leisure time. But by putting in place the systems, it takes the onus off you as the business owner to do everything. You can automate a lot of the process, or even make it easier for somebody else in your business to follow through on that process for you. So it's about efficiency, it's about effectiveness, and it's about driving profit to your business.
That's fantastic. No, there's some excellent tips there, Paul. Thank you very much. And look, thank you for your time today, Paul. Been great to talk to you as always.
Thank you, Paul. It's always good to have a chat with you, and it's nice to be on the other end of the microphone.
It's unusual again for me to do that, but eventually we might get used to this. So, but thank you much, everybody. You've been listening to the Business Behind Your Business podcast, presented today by guest presenter Paul Cripps, and I've been talking to Paul Sweeney, founder of Pretium Solutions. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Do you have a question you'd like our team of experts to answer? If you do, send your question to podcast at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. To hear more from The Business Behind Your Business, don't forget to subscribe using your favourite podcast player. Or you can visit the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website.